It's December 16th, 2021. We're at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, California, where the Kansas City Chiefs and LA Chargers are fighting for control of the AFC West. Locked in overtime, the future can still swing in any direction. But to appreciate this moment, we need to look at where these teams have recently been, some already familiar faces, and why this rivalry ramped up faster than anyone expected. We need to rewind. Okay, first off, let's pause. Before we see another frame, I am contractually obligated to talk about this guy with the ball. You know him, you love him, or you might already be tired of him. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. As this 2021 season approached, Mahomes, with just 3 years as an NFL starter to his name, had already established himself as a legend. Possibly the future GOAT. I know, it sounds extreme, but year one at the helm, 5,050. The only QB not named Peyton Manning to ever do so. That earned him league MVP honors, then a year later, Mahomes led the Chiefs to their first Super Bowl win in 50 years. Year 3, they could have gone back-to-back, but a decimated offensive line had Mahomes hobbling for his life against the Bucs. Still, the accolades, the stats, 2 Super Bowl appearances just 3 years in, it's been an absurd ride so far. With that level of success, only fools would have bet against the Chiefs heading into this season. But there would have been a lot of rich idiots running around after the first 7 games. A Super Bowl hangover hit KC hard. Mahomes struggled like we hadn't seen as a pro. After throwing 6 interceptions all of last year, by the end of October he'd been picked off 9 times. As a team, the Chiefs turned the ball over more in those 7 games than they had in all of 2020. With the Chiefs sitting at 3-4, the sky in Kansas City had fallen. All pets were headless. This team had been beaten up in ways that no team led by Mahomes had ever been. And then, over the next 7 weeks, the Chiefs didn't lose. The moment you think the NFL has found a new narrative, they just go right back to playing the hits. There wasn't any magic to the Chiefs getting to 9-4. The offense turned the ball over less, which helped the defense return to form while the offense piled up points. But for our purposes, this isn't some motivational story about Mahomes facing adversity and the Chiefs clawing their way out of a hole. The importance of their early season stumble is that it means in a very unexpected twist, the AFC West is up for grabs right now. And looking at the scoreboard, it's fitting these teams are tied up in overtime. If the Chargers can make a stand and win tonight, they'll wrestle away the division lead. And if they do so, it'd be in large part thanks to the Chargers finding a potential Mahomes of their own. As the Chiefs QB began his reign, LA moved on from their franchise quarterback. While Philip Rivers never won the whole thing, he was a consistent force for the Chargers. Since taking over in 2006, he never missed a start over 14 seasons. That meant for the last 13 years, the Chargers have elected to never use a pick on a quarterback in the first 4 rounds of any NFL draft. That's absurd. So, naturally, once they needed to finally buck that trend, they went pretty hard with the 6th overall pick in 2020. Justin Herbert, out of Oregon, had all the measurables for a quarterback that makes teams fall in love. 6'6", a great arm, quick with his feet, solid head of hair, but some saw a project that might need plenty of help to reach his ceiling. And while the Chargers certainly fell in love, they understood the other perspective and intended to give Herbert that help. They planned to be patient and let the kid learn from a veteran in Tyrod Taylor. And then the team's doctor accidentally punctured Taylor's lung with a syringe while administering a pain reliever, which forced Herbert to start at the last minute in week 2 as a rookie. You know, normal football thing. But Herbert actually looked really good. He ran for a score, threw for another, led his team to an 11-point lead against the defending Super Bowl champs. He took them to their limit and into overtime, where Herbert got his first taste of sharing a division with Mahomes. That was the start of something special, loss aside. Well, losses aside. 7 of Herbert's 8 first starts ended in defeat, but each by just 1 score. Considering this team began with the lowest of expectations, plus a different expected quarterback starting, when LA pulled out of their 2020 tailspin and ended the year with a 4-game win streak, 3 of which came in division, it signaled that maybe this project was more ready than not. In year 2, Herbert looked poised to take the Chargers back to the playoffs. Surrounded by offensive veterans like Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, the young gun quickly justified the heightened expectations. In week 3, Herbert outdueled Mahomes in Arrowhead, delivering the game-winning pass in the final minute of regulation, and, in turn, delivering LA an edge on the divisional tiebreaker. Now, no one would confuse the Chargers for a complete team. The defense couldn't stop anyone, and if Herbert was off, LA had no chance. But the good days have outnumbered the bad, and more often than not, Herbert has had this team in games late, and that is true once again tonight. These teams have gone back and forth, matching scores throughout, but if the Chiefs pull out the win, LA will have a few regrets. On tonight's opening drive, a great return set the Chargers up in field goal range immediately. They scooted their way to the 5 for a 1st and goal, and 4 incompletions later, Chiefs ball. With less than 2 to play in the first half, they again found themselves at the KC 5-yard line, and again chased the touchdown with no luck. After passing on those 6 points, they began the second half with more of the same. LA stalled out in field goal range on their first drive and failed to convert a 4th down. Then, even more painfully, they found themselves all the way down at the KC 1-yard line and turned the ball over yet again. At least, that time it was a more traditional fumble. 3 failed conversions, 1 fumble, 1 interception. They've still managed 28 points tonight. But the Chargers have pressed, in part because when you're facing this guy, you know points are at a premium, even if this year hasn't been up to Mahomes or the Chiefs' standards. But let's talk about those standards. Mahomes is great, as discussed, but right in this moment, what makes them so lethal? Well, a big part of it is these 2 guys lined up here. And an equally big part of it is this guy on the sideline. To appreciate what they've combined to do, we need to go a ways back. Utah, 1978. Don't worry, we won't be here too long. That's the year Andy Reid began playing for BYU. Was he a great football player? No, but he was friends with one. And back then, that got Reid on the team. Instead of feeling used, Reid made good use of his time. BYU's coach was the legendary Lavelle Edwards. He took the West Coast offense, which is basically just where you emphasize passing more than running. He made it even more pass-heavy, and then used route combinations that would make every part of the field an area of opportunity for any offensive skill player. Edwards' system evolved and was built upon by a seriously impressive football hive mind. And after Reid played for 3 years, he joined those ranks as a graduate assistant, and his coaching career and offensive philosophy took off from there. So, jumping ahead to 2013, as promised, Reid and his high-powered offense found themselves in Kansas City. He immediately got the Chiefs into much different, much more successful territory. Unfortunately, year 1 delivered the same knock that had chased Reid out of Philly: postseason pain. This team was ahead of schedule, though, and Reid, who wielded the final say in player personnel, got to work. In 2013, he drafted a tight end out of Cincinnati in the 3rd round. Travis Kelce's always played a tough game, whether while blocking or not wanting to go down. He's sneaky fast with good hands. The main knock was that he smoked a little weed in college, so he didn't see the field much until senior year. But Reid had drafted and coached his brother Jason back in Philly, so maybe he knew something that the rest of the league missed. Because Kelce pretty quickly became one of, if not the best receiver on the team. Pro Bowl tight end checked off the list. In 2016, the Chiefs got the offense another big boost. They took a shot with Tyreek Hill, a smaller wide receiver with blazing speed, but someone with much more serious reasons for why teams passed on him. But focusing on the player, Hill's speed gave any offense a boost that couldn't be done through scheme. And in Reid's system, teamed up with a guy like Kelce, this team clicked into another gear. The first year that Kelce and Hill were full-time starters, They both delivered 1,000-yard seasons. And that was in 2017, with a QB that folks thought was allergic to throwing the ball deep. So when Mahomes took over 1 year later, Reid's offense was primed to explode. When the QB went off for his historic season, these two guys feasted. Mahomes' connection with Kelce in particular fell into place immediately, in a way that, even with the bumpy start this year, Kelce's on track to deliver his 6th straight All-Pro season, 4 for 4 with Mahomes at the helm. Tonight, this trio has been the, as advertised, relentless foundational force of this Chiefs team. While Tyreek's numbers are outlandish, Kelce has outdone the wide receiver on fewer catches. A good chunk of that came on this very nice catch and run that perfectly captures the weapon that he is. He found open space in the Chargers' zone coverage, and right here, judging by how slow he's running, this play should be done. But this isn't the best defense, and he used those long strides to create this perfect amount of separation to finish rumbling all the way down to the 1. Hill finished off the drive 2 plays later. This 3-headed monster has been unstoppable tonight. And now, Kelce and his 157 receiving yards are off to Mahomes' right. Tyreek's lined up between Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson. All respect to those guys, but everyone knows if this ball leaves Mahomes' hand, it's going to one of these guys. The Chargers defense knows that as well by now, which means they can get themselves in position to turn the tide. They could quickly swing things in their favor and set up LA's new franchise quarterback to play the hero instead. Herbert has put his team in position to take the division lead. He just needs a little help from his teammates. But at this point, given who has the ball, given who he has to throw it to, the Chiefs can show they're truly back and end things right here. With the AFC West up for grabs, welcome to a moment in history.
Just one catch shy of Otis Taylor. Here is Kelce. Still going. Kelce, good night, touchdown, Chiefs win it.
Thanks so much for sticking around, and a huge special thanks to all of our top secret agents. That's whose names you're seeing right now. If you want to support us on Patreon, maybe see your name here, maybe get a ton of extra content from us, like New Pretty Good or our podcast or whatever we come up with every Monday, just go over to our Patreon and learn more. If you just want more things like this, well, we've got you covered too. We've made way too many videos at this point, but hey, here's something new. Don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment. Let us know the date that you believe the Chiefs will next lose.